Good morning, everyone. It's almost 10 a.m. Sunday, August the 1st, 2021. And we have another live session to talk about the latest developments in the world of immigration to Canada. And of course, I will also answer your questions. Excuse me. Okay. So let me introduce myself first before everybody shows up. And by the way, if you have any questions, feel free to post them on the chat box. And you don't need to repeat your questions. I will, after finishing reviewing the news, I will go through the questions and I will answer them. My name is Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I have now 10 and a half years of experience as an independent immigration consultant. I teach at Ashton College. I teach immigration consulting courses and also advanced courses in the field of immigration. I also teach at Global School of Corporate Excellence, which is another private career college. Ashton College is in Vancouver, private career Global School is in Toronto. I'm also the author of the bestseller book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. And you can find out your purchasing options by visiting 88tips.ca or visiting any Amazon website and just look for my name, Al Parsai, or 88 Tips on Immigration. Okay, that's enough about me. Let's talk about what's going on in the world of immigration. And after I'm done with reviewing the news, I will get back to you and answer your questions. Please keep your questions very general. Don't ask specific questions about your case. And also just post them once. I promise I will get back and answer every single question that I have time to answer. Okay. So the first thing that you need to know is that the government of Canada, and by the way, all these are coming from settler.ca, our website. We have a journalist. She looks into the news and she's in touch with the immigration authorities and also reliable websites. And she posts the latest updates about immigration to Canada on our website, settler.ca. If you visit settler.ca through a desktop computer, you can see the news on the bottom of the first page, or you could click the articles tab. There is a box on top of the articles tab that says immigration news. Click on the immigration news and you could see them. You could also type in settler.news to see the news. Okay, so the first one is about TR to PR open work permit. You probably are aware that the government of Canada had promised to accept up to 90,000 applicants under the TR to PR program, and they allocated 20,000 to healthcare workers, 30,000 to essential workers, and 40,000 to international students. So the international student reached cap in about 27 hours. Then the essential workers also reached the cap a few days ago, and only the healthcare workers still have some room for acceptance. Also, if you are a francophone, you could apply under any of these three options, and there is no cap. The deadline is November 5th, 2021, and by that time, you can become, you need to submit your application. Now, the issue is that these people who have applied under TR to PR pathway, they also have a temporary status in Canada, and their temporary status may expire by the time that the immigration authorities decide on their application. To assist them remain in Canada and continue working in Canada, the government has introduced an open work permit option, which is very similar to bridging open work permit for express entry. And you can apply under that program to become a temporary foreign worker or continue remaining a temporary foreign worker while you are waiting for your application to be processed. Many of those applicants have not received a file number yet, and they were worried how they can apply for this work permit. So if you visit our website, we have explained the steps that you need to take to be able to become to receive your work permit. So this is the link that I posted on the chat box. I will also post it later after I record this video underneath this video, and you can take a look at it and see if you have already applied for TR to PR pathway, if you qualify for the open work permit, the special open work permit, and how you need to apply. Sorry. The other one is about international students and how they can apply to come to Canada. So there are many complexities going around the topic of international students coming to Canada nowadays. What you need to know is that if you are holding a study permit, so let's assume that you hold a study permit, most of the schools in Canada will resume in class training in this coming fall. And this means that from the fall, you can actually go to school. Also keep that in mind that by law, you are considered an international student if you are studying full-time with a valid study permit at a designated learning institution, and at least 50% of your studies is in person. However, the government of Canada, because of coronavirus, they decided to allow people to study remotely. And despite studying remotely, their study permit remains in effect, and they may even eventually apply for a postgraduate work permit. So that was the idea behind all those measures. But now that the schools are opening, it's a good idea for international students to come back to Canada and resume their studies in person. We don't really know for how long the government of Canada will extend that policy. And at any moment, they may say, now you need to at least spend 50% of your time in classroom. So it's a good idea for you to come back to Canada. However, if you want to come back to Canada, you need to keep in mind that your school must have a COVID readiness plan in place. And you can find out about COVID readiness plan about each school by visiting the IRCC website. We have the links on our website to that page of IRCC. I just post the link here. So if your school has a COVID readiness plan, and you also have already a study permit that is valid to a designated learning institution, then if you wish to travel to Canada to attend your school in person, you may do so. If you are coming after August 9th, there is no need for a quarantine hotel. Also, if you have received your both of your, depending on what vaccine you have received, but if you are fully vaccinated with the definition of Canada, and by fully vaccinated, it means you have received vaccines that are approved by Health Canada, that is Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, and also Johnson & Johnson. So if you have received fully vaccinated by any of those vaccines, then after August 9th, you may travel to Canada without even quarantine or hotel quarantine or anything. Actually, even today, you can do that, but you need to show that you have a study permit that is valid, and also your school has a COVID readiness plan. We have the details. I just post the link here on the chat box. I will also post the link below this video. Again, if you have any questions in terms of immigration to Canada, and it's a general question, by all means, please post them on chat box. I see a few questions here. I will definitely come back and will answer all those questions after that. You don't need to repeat your questions. Okay, the other thing that you need to know is that if you're familiar with the concept of immigration to Canada, you know that Canada has federal immigration programs and provincial immigration programs. Federal immigration programs focus on immigration to anywhere in Canada with the exception of the province of Quebec. But provincial programs, they focus on a specific province. It means that you ultimately want to immigrate to, say, for example, Saskatchewan, or you want to immigrate to British Columbia. Regardless of that, there are some organizations that they deal with immigration to Canada. So at the provincial level, we have provincial immigration departments, and at the federal level, we have the federal immigration department. So the federal immigration department is called IRCC. It was formerly called CIC. IRCC stands for Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada. CIC was Citizenship and Immigration Canada. And the minister of IRCC is Minister Mendicino. He is in charge of policy making and decision making in terms of immigration to Canada. And each province, they also have their own minister of immigration. There is a forum for these ministers, and they are called, that forum is called FMRI, the Forum of Ministers Responsible for Immigration. They recently had a meeting about the future of immigration to Canada. I can post the link to that meeting or information about that meeting on our chat box, and I will also post the link below here. You can read about their comments in terms of what they have learned, first of all, from the situation that we are in right now as Canadians and the immigration system to Canada because of COVID-19 and all the problems that we faced because of that. And also, they also talked about how the lessons learned and how they can enhance the immigration process to Canada. So hopefully we will see a more modernized immigration system in Canada that will resolve some of the issues that we faced during coronavirus, and we're still facing during coronavirus. Believe it or not, in a typical day, and I'm not exaggerating, I probably receive up to 30 emails from my clients, just those that their applications are stuck in different visa offices. They are worried about being away from their family members. They really want to come back to Canada. They are facing problems, financial problems and issues. And unfortunately, many of the visa offices outside Canada, they are not responding to the request. They are not processing applications, or they are processing those applications extremely slowly. We even have issues with the offices inside Canada. Some of the offices have managed to make things right. For example, when you apply for refugee applications inside Canada, now we are almost back to normal, but based on the mechanisms they have built in here. But with other applications like spousal applications, like parental sponsorship applications, startup visa applications, self-employed immigration, we are facing problems both inside Canada and outside Canada. So hopefully the ministers will, move their magic wand, and we will see a better immigration department in the future. But right now, it's not very good. So if you're interested, you can learn about that FMRI meeting by visiting our website. The good news is that Ontario has been very active in terms of inviting people from the pool of express entry to apply for immigration under the PNP program. They invited 1,033 people last week to apply. Those people who are invited, if they accept the invitation, they will receive up to 600 points in their pool of express entry, which technically will guarantee their invitation to apply for express entry. The people who were invited, their CRSS scores were between 458 and 467. So we're talking about those groups of people that they already were strong candidates, yet they could receive up to another 600 points, which their position will be definitely an amazing position in the pool of express entry. And also, it's not just that, because right now IRCC do not invite applicants under federal skilled worker program. If any of these people who are invited, they were FSW clients, now they know that they will be invited under express entry PNP options. Interestingly enough, the government of Ontario decided to pick 18 occupations or occupation classifications or NOC codes to invite them to apply. Keep that in mind. This list may change in the future. So don't you think if you fall under any of these occupations, you will be definitely invited by Ontario? No, but at least it gives us a glimpse of what Ontario has in mind about a good candidate, somebody whose number of points is definitely very high, 450 and above. And last round was the minimum of 458. The other issue is that these are the kind of jobs that at least in their last round of invitations they consider. So I'm going to read the name of those occupation classifications. Remember, these are not job titles. These are classifications. So your job title could be different, but still fall under any of these classifications. So other administrative service managers, which is NOC 0114, banking, credit, and other investment managers, NOC 0122, advertising, marketing, and public relations managers, NOC 0124, other business service managers, NOC 0125, engineering managers, NOC 0211, managers in healthcare, NOC 0311, corporate sales managers, NOC 0601, restaurant and food service managers, NOC 0631, construction managers, NOC 0711, managers in transportation, NOC 0731, and manufacturing managers, NOC 0911. So these are all managerial positions, but there are some non-managerial positions as well. Human resources professionals, NOC 1121, professional occupations in business management consulting, NOC 1122, mathematicians, statisticians, and actuaries, NOC 2161, registered nurses and registered psychiatric nurses, NOC 3012, medical laboratory technologists, NOC 3211, also opticians, NOC 3231, and the last one is practical nurses, NOC 3233. Again, I repeat, these are the occupations that they were invited by Ontario to apply under the express entry system. So these people were already in the pool of express entry. Their CRS scores were between 458 to 467. They had shown interest in moving to Ontario, and Ontario picked those people, 1,033 of them, from these 18 occupational classifications, and those people will receive up to 600 points each in the CRS score, and that will help them to apply under the express entry and be invited by the immigration authorities to apply under express entry PNP. I repeat, they may change this list in the future. There's no guarantee that they will stick with this list, but at least it gives you an idea if you want to move to the province of Ontario, what kind of CRS score you might have, and also what kind of occupations they're potentially looking at. If you have any questions about immigration, there are general questions, by all means, please post them on the chat box. As soon as I'm done with the news, I will come back to you and I will answer all those questions. There is no need to repeat your questions. So this is the link to the news that I just shared with you, but I will also post it below this video for people who watch the recording. And it looks like that the recordings has become more popular than I expected. And the other one is that it's quite interesting. So I was interviewed by Law Times about a case, that case was actually about a case of Miss Kita. So unfortunately, this lady who was an immigration consultant, she found an opportunity to make money off refugees that they were going to be resettled from Syria and Iraq back in 2015 to Canada. It turned into a scandal in the news, etc. ICCRC got involved, and ICCRC is the organization that issues our licenses, and they revoked her license. She filed for judicial review with the federal court, but federal court also sided with ICCRC, and now she is revoked. So law times approached me and they said that we have interviewed some immigration lawyers, and those immigration lawyers, they believe that immigration consultants are all evil, and that's the outcome of that, which I truly disagree. I believe that we have many immigration consultants that are honest, hardworking people, but we also have bad apples. We have immigration consultants that are horrible, and this is a wake-up call for everybody who wants to hire an immigration consultant. Do your research and see what kind of person is that, and if that person is an honest, hardworking immigration consultant, and then you decide to hire them. We do have the same situation with immigration lawyers. Actually, we have some immigration lawyers that they have abused their clients in the past. I have some examples of them. Just recently, one immigration lawyer in Manitoba was disbarred because he had lost $6 million money that belonged to his customers. And that person is an immigration lawyer, not a consultant. Recently, an immigration lawyer that is also a real estate lawyer lost a $320,000 lawsuit to one of her clients, and it's very likely that she will also lose her license, and she's from British Columbia. So does this mean that immigration lawyers are awful people? No, of course not. We have, again, bad immigration lawyers, good immigration lawyers, and amazing immigration lawyers. So the concept of my interview with Law Times is that you can also read our comments on our website by our journalists about this issue, and be the judge and see if you want to hire a professional, make sure that that professional is knowledgeable and is trustworthy. Okay. So the other one is that Canada has proposed some regulations to protect the Canadian workers, and those regulations are the international workers. Those regulations are amazing. If you want to know more, you can read this here. Remember, if you are receiving a job offer, a recruitment agency is not allowed to charge you money for a job offer in Canada. I know that this is common practice, but it is against the law in Canada. In most provinces of Canada, recruitment agencies are regulated, and they need to be a member of a body, and they will look into these activities by them. And also, even in Ontario, that they are not regulated, still there are regulations in place in terms of hiring and recruitment. And if somebody does not follow those regulations, they are at fault. Nobody should charge you money to find you jobs in Canada. This is illegal. It's in most jurisdictions in Canada. Don't fall for this trap. And you can read our article about new changes as well, that they try to even make it stronger to protect people. The other piece of news, and again, if you have questions, by all means, post your questions here, and I will answer them after I'm done with the news. I'm almost done. So the other one is that keep in mind that any kind of misrepresentation to immigration authorities could have serious consequences. Any kind of forgery could have serious consequences. And just recently, CBSA posted a report about 17 people who are now prisoned because of using false documentation and passports trying to enter Canada or deceive the immigration authorities. Remember, the maximum prison time for using a false passport is 14 years in prison. Of course, if somebody uses a false passport trying to reach Canada to file for refugee, that's a different story. Assuming they won't continue using that false identification, they won't encounter prosecution. But the other people, they will encounter prosecution, and they could face up to 14 years in prison. Also, regular misrepresentation could bring up to 5 years in prison, on top of being inadmissible from Canada for up to 5 years, and also financial fines, which could be up to $100,000. So you have to be very careful in terms of your interactions with the immigration authorities. If you want to know more about the destiny of those people and what happened to them, you can read that. I just posted the link in the chat box, but I will also post it, as I mentioned, underneath this video after we record the video. The use of representative form is being updated by the immigration authorities. So if you are hiring an immigration consultant or an immigration lawyer, look at the bottom of the form, make sure that it is the latest up-to-date form, which is July 2021. If you are using the old forms, they are still in effect until October. But to be on the safe side, if you can switch to the new forms, then make sure you use the new forms. And let me see if I have anything else to add. No, the rest of it is it belongs to more than a week ago. And now I know that unfortunately I couldn't run the live session last week for some unforeseen issues, but I'm done with the news. If you want to see the news, just go to settler.ca, and you can click the articles tab, and then on the bottom there's a box that says immigration news. Click that and you will see all the news, or just type in settler.news and it will redirect you to our news page. Okay, let me answer the questions. So the first question is from Masala Wali. If I get salary in cash certificate along with offer letter and reference letter from my employer, will I need anything when it's flights going to start to Canada, so that the rest of PR process? Oh, there are, I think these are two different questions. So I didn't quite get your first question. If you get cash certificate along with offer letter and reference letter from employer, for what? You need what? I'm not sure what you're referring to. Is it express entry application? Is it a work permit application? But at the end of the day, when somebody is working here inside Canada, all the employers are required to go through the payroll process, and we issue for our employees, we issue pay stubs and earning statements, and they can present those to show to the immigration authorities that they have been working for an employer here in Canada. If the payments were in cash, then other than it is fishy, because they're probably being done in that way to compromise the tax system, it's very difficult to trace those payments and realize that that person was actually being paid. Now, if somebody has received a check, then they have the checks. And they could potentially show the checks, because if you go to your bank here in Canada, then you can print them off. If it is from outside Canada, yeah, it could be, depending on the jurisdiction, that the person was being paid in cash. However, if they have a reference letter from their employer, some supporting documents, etc., then that person could claim that they actually were working for that employer. I have an article, and let me see if I can find it. Actually, this one is a good one. So I made a comparison between arranged employment and work reference letter for express entry. If you read this article, it explains in more details how you can potentially satisfy the immigration authorities that you were really working inside Canada. And in terms of when its flights is going to start to Canada, they start the rest of PR streamlines. So generally speaking, the flights have never been stopped to come to Canada. So the flights were going on. It was that we had travel restrictions in terms of you could only travel to Canada, and it's still, you can only travel to Canada for essential, or in other words, non-discretionary reasons. For example, you are a permanent resident of Canada, you're a Canadian citizen, you are coming here to visit your parents who are Canadian citizens or permanent residents. Or, for example, you are a temporary foreign worker who needs to come back to start your work or resume your work in Canada. Or you are an international student with studying at a school that they offer COVID readiness plan, etc. So there were some exceptional situations that you could travel. Besides those, you couldn't travel. Now, this will change on September 7th. Starting from September 7th, anybody who is fully vaccinated, regardless of the reasons for traveling to Canada, they may travel to Canada, assuming, of course, they hold proper visas, passports, etc., etc. But you don't need to travel to Canada just for non-discretionary reasons. It could also be discretionary or non-essential travels, starting from September September 7th, 2021. However, you need to be fully vaccinated. As I mentioned, by fully vaccination, it means that you have received in full the vaccines approved by the immigration authorities of Canada, and at least 14 days has passed since your last vaccination. Okay, so the next question is by Inkscape Tut. I always worked as a freelancer, so I don't have official work experience. How should I apply for Express Entry program? So it's not impossible, but it's more difficult for somebody who has been a self-employed person to prove their work experience. Keep in mind, if for inside Canada, unfortunately, if you have been inside Canada and working as a self-employed person, or as you mentioned, a freelancer, unfortunately, you cannot use that towards Canadian experience, and that is not counted. But if you have worked as a freelancer outside Canada, and that constitutes full-time work, although it is self-employed work, then a person could claim those points as their experience and apply for express entry. However, it's more difficult because you don't have proper pay stubs and you don't have proper reference letters, for example, from an employer, etc. To prove that, you need to come up with alternative documentation. And of course, this is case by case, it could be very different. So point of warning, whatever I am explaining here may work for you, may not work for you. This is very generic, but generally speaking, a freelancer has an accountant. So that accountant could write a letter and explain that this person has been working. That freelancer has an accounting track in terms of their financials. They have financial statements, they have tax records, they may have a lawyer that lawyer attests to their experience. They may have been dealing with many customers, that those customers are willing to offer them reference letters, especially if they were loyal long-term customers, etc. They may have a website to show their activities and, of course, the activities of their bank account, especially if it's a business bank account, etc. So if you, a combination of different documents, if you put them together, they may convince an immigration officer that you actually worked outside Canada, but that work was a self-employed work. So self-employed work outside Canada could be presented to the immigration authorities, but it's very difficult to prove. And if you are dealing with that situation, I highly recommend that you get in touch with a professional to review your documents, because it's not as easy as I'm talking to you. I have more than 10 years experience dealing with self-employed applicants, different kinds of applications. Many of my clients, actually, they are under federal self-employed class, and I have probably had easily well more than 500 clients under that program alone so far, and I have dealt with so many different scenarios. So as soon as I see the documents, I can say whether they are potentially satisfactory for the immigration officer or not. Sunny JD say hi. Okay, Elsa Francisco. Any update on paper-based applications? Which month does the CIC is processing? So the simple answer, Elsa, is that no, there is no updates. So there are two major, or actually three major locations in Canada, actually four major locations in Canada that we submit on paper applications. So one of them is CPCM, or Case Processing Center in Mississauga. With CPCM, they deal with most of the applications that they deal with are either spousal sponsorship, inland class, or the application for refugees that they are pre-approved by RPD, and now they are protected people and they want to apply for permanent residence. CPCM, usually when you submit the application, in most cases they just issue a temporary file number. In certain cases they issue an actual file number. An example would be if parents are sponsoring their child, and I recently submitted a child sponsorship application, and they actually issued the real file number, and they are processing the application. They requested medical from my client. She did the medical, and now we are waiting for the finalization of process. But that's an exceptional situation. With other regular inland spousal cases, and also with refugee cases, they are very slow, and they just usually, most cases, just issue a temporary file number, and you never know when they will really process the application. The other office, which is the main one, is CIO, Central Intake Office, which is located in Sydney, Nova Scotia, one of the provinces of Canada. And that office has not been active, let's put it that way. We saw minor activities from Sydney, and by Sydney I mean Sydney, Nova Scotia, from the CIO, probably around November of last year until February this year, but then they stopped. So we have applications actually from even March 2020 that they have only received a temporary file number and they are not being processed. I've had a couple of applications in the past year and a half that they were actually processed by Sydney, but those applications, they were not at the CIO level. For example, certificate of citizenship, those kind of things that they were processed. In terms of PR cards, it looks like that IRCC has distributed the issuance of PR cards among different offices in Canada. So we see the PR cards are being issued, but even with PR cards, it takes about 4 months or so to be issued. The next office is CPC Edmonton, and that's Case Processing Center in Edmonton. Again, with CPC Edmonton, it's very choppy. I mean, I've had one in the past year, believe it or not, only one application as far as I remember that was processed by CPC Edmonton, and that was a work permit application which we initially submitted to the visa office in Mexico City, but the visa office of Mexico City does not process those kinds of work permits, so they transferred that to Edmonton, and then Edmonton processed it. But I have many applications in CPC Edmonton, and unfortunately CPC Edmonton is not working. Sometimes they transfer applications from CPC Edmonton to other offices for processing, but they are very slow, extremely slow. Now, the good news is that Alberta is reopening, so maybe the reopening of Alberta encourages CPC Edmonton to resume their work. And the last major office, of course, there are many other offices in Canada, but the last major office in Canada is the humanitarian office, or it used to be called the Backlog Reduction Office. Now it's called Humanitarian Office in Vancouver. When you submit the applications, they are super slow in processing the applications, but at least you see some processing happening. So I've had some HNC applications that they were processed by Vancouver in the past year. So it is less, if you compare it with the other 3 offices, they are more active. Let's put it that way. So I hope I answered your question. So we don't really know. We don't know. Everything is very choppy. It's irrational. It's not properly being processed. And even with outside Canada cases, most of them, we don't know when they will be processed, etc. But again, keep that in mind that Canada is reopening kind of. Probably you know that Canada is #1 country in terms of vaccination. Right now, more than 80% of eligible Canadians have received their first shot of vaccination, and more than 60% of eligible Canadians have received their both shots, and they are fully vaccinated. So in other words, we will see some major changes in terms of reopening of Canada in the upcoming weeks, hopefully, despite the fact that we are potentially facing the 4th wave of coronavirus in Canada, but because many people are fully vaccinated, the death toll will be low, hospitalization will be low, and hopefully we will continue our normal lives. And that's why we see some news in terms of reopening the borders and etc. etc. So hopefully everything will be kind of back to normal soon. And Sunny JD, there's a question that my visa expired in December 2016. I applied for my renewal in March 2017. I was refused an extension saying I should leave Canada immediately. I left in 2 weeks. Do you think I need an authorization to enter Canada? So obviously, I don't know about your case. I don't know whether you received a removal order or not. But generally speaking, if somebody has received a removal order, then that person needs an authorization to return to Canada. If you have not received a removal order, then you don't need an authorization to return to Canada. Sometimes people, they think they have not received a removal order, but they actually did. Or sometimes they think they received a removal order and they haven't. And the easiest way to handle this situation is to explore, to see if you actually received the removal order or not. And that can be done by requesting the notes of the immigration officers through an ATIP request or Access to Information and Privacy Act, or receiving documents from the clients. I just posted the link to ATIP here. We have a service that we charge $100 US. You pay that, and we can make that request on your behalf and give you a report that whether you have any issues with the immigration authorities or not. But for somebody who hasn't received a removal order, that person cannot even apply for authorization to return. So the next question is from Muralireddy Nukella. And the question is that, what's the procedure to apply for owner-operator LMIA program from India if I apply on my own without representative? So the simple answer is that owner-operator LMIA is almost dead, because the government of Canada decided to make some twists and turns in the LMIA process for owner-operator, because in the past, for the owner-operator, you didn't need to go through the recruitment efforts. You didn't need to, for example, post ads on the newspapers, etc. But now they have changed that, and they say you need to go through the recruitment efforts. You need to show business legitimacy, and because almost all owner-operator applications, they are coming from new businesses. They do not even qualify for LMI, regular LMIA, high-wage LMIA, for example, and that's why, technically speaking, starting from April 1st, 2021, most of owner-operator applications, they are doomed, and you cannot count on them. We have been using an alternative for LMIA for owner operators since 2017. I just post the link below here. You can read that, and if you're interested, you can consider hiring us. Now, I know that you mentioned that you are not interested in hiring a representative, but keep in mind that owner operator application was a very complex application. That's why immigration consultants and lawyers charged a hefty price for that. And C11 is as complex as that one, but it's up to you. If you want to do it yourself, do it yourself. And then Sunny JD again, I would like to apply for visitor visa from home country. Should I just apply normally? Again, as I mentioned, Sunny, I don't really know whether you are inadmissible to Canada or not. We cannot find out unless you can submit that request to us, the ATIP request. I posted the link, and when I record this video, I just wrote it down here. I will also post the link below here. We charge $100 US or 99.99 US dollars for this service, and we can investigate whether you have actually any issues with the immigration authorities or not. And then based on that report, you decide whether you can apply or you need to apply for an ARC, etc. So the next question is from Clarice, and the question is as, hello, sir, I didn't submit my application as a caregiver, and how to apply express entry program? Do I qualify? Thank you. What documents required? Hopefully. So I don't know your situation, whether you qualify or you do not qualify for any immigration option. We have an assessment form on our website, and filling out that assessment form is free. You can select that, and I will post the link below this video as well. But when you go to the assessment form, there are 5 buttons. The button that you need to select is skilled immigration. Fill out that form, and we will see if you qualify for express entry or not. If we find out that you qualify for express entry, we will get in touch with you. If you don't feel that you qualify, we won't get in touch with you. But give it a try, and we'll see if you qualify for any immigration options or not. So the next question is by Masalawali. Sir, I get paid in cash and it's not deposited in bank. Then what documents would needed to prove my employment part from offer letter and reference letter from my employer? So generally speaking, again, it depends on the immigration option. And I don't know your personal circumstances, all the things surrounding that, other than what you have explained. But generally speaking, for express entry application, the mandatory portions that the officers want to prove that you worked is your employment contract and a work reference letter. So these are the documents that they're looking for. They're not looking for your pay stubs. Pay stubs are extra. So I always encourage my clients to include at least one document on top of the work contract and the reference letter. And that one document could be a pay stub, could be the business card that they had, or the business card of the person that issued the letter, or it could be a reference letter from a coworker. So there are so many other documents that they could show that you actually worked for that employer. We usually try to submit, not always, sometimes 2 documents is good enough, but in most cases we try to submit one extra document on top of those 2 documents to prove that this person really worked for that employer. And obviously, one of the documents could be pay stub. So if you didn't receive pay stub, if you received in cash, and we are talking about outside Canada jobs, then the alternatives could be other documentation or no documentation at all. And again, you can consult with your immigration consultant or immigration lawyer. They will review your documents and they find out whether the documents that you're submitting are good enough. Okay, so the next question is from Donald Porter. How about doing a video on a new way of delivering PR card? That's a good point, Donna. The reason that I'm reluctant on doing any videos on that subject is because it is now changing constantly. So recently, for example, so this is how it evolved. In the past, you basically received a COPR, and then you could validate that COPR by flag polling, going to the port of entry, or by going to an inland office, or if you were outside Canada, you could simply travel to Canada and at the airport validate your COPR. COPR stands for Confirmation of Permanent Residence. And then upon confirming your permanent residence, it triggered, because it was issued by an officer at the port of entry, it triggered their system, and they had an address from you, and they posted your cards to your address. So that was the way it was done in the past. Then last year, when we encountered COVID-19, the situation changed, and we're talking about the initial PR cards, not for those people who are renewing their PR cards. Then last year, it changed, and actually, I think it was the first time, it was in April or May of 2020, that I received an email from immigration authorities that they congratulated my client, that they are now permanent residents of Canada, and then they had to send 2 passport size photos to a special address, and that address was one of their offices in Canada, to receive their PR card. So that was there for a while, for probably good 1 year, and then they changed, and now what is happening is that when they want to confirm permanent residency of a person, they send me a letter, and they say, forward this letter to your client. Then my client, based on that letter, they send an email to the immigration authorities that I'm here in Canada, and please allow me to become a permanent resident. Then they give them a special link. With that special link, they open it, they create an account for themselves, and with that account, they confirm that they are inside Canada. They upload their pictures, and then after uploading their pictures, they click submit. And then after a few days, they receive a congratulation letter that now you are officially a permanent resident of Canada. And they also initiate their PR card, issuance of PR card. So as you can see, this has changed 2 times in the past 12 months. And I'm afraid if I make a video about this, then this may change 2 weeks from now or 2 months from now. But right now, this is where we are sitting at. And now I briefly made a video about it, but that's a good suggestion. I will think about it, and hopefully we'll have it. Okay, so where I was, I just want to make sure that pay cash. I read this. Club Fred says hi. Hi, Fred. Good to see you here. Okay, Shamil Ibrahim. Hi, congrats on your recent interview as an expert in the industry. Oh, thank you very much, Shamil. My question on Atlantic Immigration Pilot International Graduate Students Program, will banking or business analysis jobs available there? So, Shamil, generally speaking, any jobs could be available in Atlantic Pilot. The issue with the Atlantic Pilot is that the employer must be registered with the provincial body that governs those job offers. And you need to make sure, so depending if the job offer is coming, for example, from New Brunswick, you need to go to the body that governs that, or the immigration authorities of New Brunswick, to see if that employer is listed, and then apply. There are some avenues that you could reach to those employers and see if they are interested. But you have to be very careful, because unfortunately there are some abuses that they ask for, either employers or their representatives. They ask for money to receive a job offer. This is not legal, and also could eventually jeopardize the application process. I've heard some horrifying news about people who fell into that trap. And of course, there might be some people who succeed. I'm not denying that. I'm not saying that everybody who cheats, they will get caught. But it's a very dangerous path to go through, because generally speaking, Atlantic provinces are not very successful in terms of accepting immigrants. The immigration rate to Atlantic provinces, and by Atlantic I'm referring to Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Newfoundland and Labrador. We also call them maritime provinces. Those maritime provinces, as Atlantic provinces, they are not technically very successful in getting immigrants, and that's why the government introduced this pilot. However, be very careful when you're approaching them. And it's not about a specific job, it's about the employer more than anything else. If the employer is registered with the body that governs those employers in terms of immigration, and also they are willing to offer you a job, then that could qualify you for immigration to Canada through the Atlantic Pilot Program. But be careful with those abusers, if you will. Okay, so the next question would be, what is the process before to submit IMPC 11? So I just posted the link, and I will post the link below here. I have probably 3 or 4 at least articles about this subject. If you go to settler.ca and look for job creators work permit, you will see I have an article about that, about the investments that they are expected. But generally speaking, it means that you have an idea, a business idea that is plausible, and it could generate benefits for Canadian economy and job market. You are a person who can make that plan happen, and that they look into based on your past experience, your financial status, your education, your skill set, etc., that you are the right person to manage that business. And the third one is that you have taken certain steps to make that business happen in Canada. The big one is registering a business in Canada or purchasing an existing business in Canada, that you own at least 50% of that business. And also you have enough financials to make that business happen. You have a business plan in place. And so on and so forth. So this is a very brief introduction to IMPC 11. If all of those fall into place, then you could receive a work permit without an LMIA to Canada. That's the gist of it. But I have multiple articles on our website. You can visit our website and read those articles. And also I have some videos about the subject. Okay, so the next question is by Raj Tilak, and we are almost out of time, but let me quickly go through all of these. I applied for work permit from India as salesperson in April 21st. Embassy gave me info in May 21st that medical is awaited. How much time for medical exam, recent processing time in my cases? I don't know what your, for work permit. So generally speaking, the work permit application process in India used to be 13 weeks. Then they reduced it to 4 weeks or 8 weeks. And then, but in reality, we have some applications from that we have submitted them several months ago and nothing. And that's partly because New Delhi is not working properly. So unfortunately, it's going very slowly for Indians in terms of receiving their work permits. And I can tell you, if somebody gives you an honest answer, nobody can predict when would be the exact processing time for you. That's the honest answer to your question. So James says, hello, sir. I have submitted my study permit since November 2020 for 2020 fall, but I have not received outcome from RCIC. What can I do? So this is, again, I don't know about the specifics of your case, but generally speaking, this is weird because the government promised that whoever submitted their application for a study permit before May 15th, 2021, they will receive their answer by August. So if you do not receive your answer within the next couple of weeks, then that's the source of concern. Having said that, because I personally, all of my clients that they submitted their applications before May 15th, they've already received their study permits. What I suggest to you is that to get in touch with the IRCC through the IRCC web form and follow up with them. I have a video about IRCC web form. I will post the link here, and let me just run the web form. I will post the link below this video as well, and in the chat box, please refer to that, because you can get in touch with them and ask them what's going on with your application. But hopefully you will see the outcome within the next week or two, because that was their promise, and they have processed almost all applications. So Mohammed Sohail, I have lost my citizenship card and certificate. How can I get it back? So for generally speaking, Mohammed, for lost, first of all, the government doesn't issue citizenship card anymore, so you cannot get it back, unfortunately. But for the citizenship certificate, it is a possibility. You need to submit an application to Central Intake Office in Sydney, Nova Scotia. Actually, it's not Central Intake Office, it's a CPC in Sydney, Nova Scotia, but it doesn't matter. It's the same address. You submit the application and they will issue you a new certificate, and they will send it to you. If you go on IRCC website, they have the guidelines how to apply for a lost or stolen citizenship certificate. But unfortunately, for the citizenship card, if you lose it forever, because the immigration authorities do not issue citizenship cards anymore. The next question is Donnet Porter. What happened if you created an account before IRCC issues you the link to send your photo and to state that you are in Canada? You cannot, because that's it's not about a regular profile. That profile is especially designed for PR cards. So nobody knows. You receive the link after you send them emails, so nobody can create any profiles. Even if you have an IRCC profile, that has nothing to do with this. They will send you a link. Now, for those people who don't have representatives, they might decide to use their own MyGCIC to make that communication. I honestly don't know about them. But for my clients, they send a special link to them and they create an account and they receive that. What makes you unique? And this is from Club Fred. What makes you unique and brilliant is that you are an engineer, which makes you very strategic in your approach and also problem-solving oriented. Way to go. Oh, thank you very much, Fred. You made my day. Yeah, I used to be an engineer, so I quit being an engineer when I moved to Canada 17 years ago. And even when I was in the UAE, I wasn't doing engineering work, but thank you very much. I think as an engineer, you need to have a better analytical mind, and hopefully that had contributed to my work. So Raj, thank you for your quick reply. God bless you. God bless you all. Thank you very much for attending this session. Hi, Rupesh. Good to see you. Again, thank you very much for attending this session. My name is Al Parsai. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I've been practicing as an independent immigration consultant for the past 10.5 years, and I'm the author of the bestseller book, 88 Tips on Immigration to Canada. Please consider purchasing it. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will have live sessions every Sunday at 10 a.m. EST, which is Eastern Standard Time or Toronto time. And also, I know that I have been lazy for the past few months, but I will also hopefully make more videos about immigration to Canada in the upcoming month. And please keep in touch. Stay safe. See you next week. Bye now.